Greetings. My name is Masachaba Baloyi. I'm the CEO and founder of Indie Park Human Capital. We are your guide to building and sustaining a high-performance culture. Welcome to the Moments of Impact. Professor Bonang Mohale is the ultimate family man. He's the author of Behold the Turtle and Lift as You Rise. Currently, he serves as President of Business Unity South Africa, a Chancellor at the University of Free State, Chairperson at SBV Services, Bidvest and Aslametal. However, to many, he is selfless, sincere, kind, respectful, and extremely generous with his resources of time, wisdom, networks, insights, and ideas. He continues to lift as he rises. Thank you so much, Professor Bonang, for honoring our invite. How do you do?
For having me.
There is something about new beginnings that inspired a renewed sense of energy, hope, and ideals of being and doing more. Most recently, world leaders gathered at Davos as a collective to prioritize the world agenda. We hope they have found new meaning to the overarching theme of cooperation in a fragmented world. However, it is also worth noting, and I quote, "It's important to understand that most progress comes from a bit of pain. If you don't want or expect any pain, then don't get out of bed in the morning. Life is not neat. It's messy and painful. It consists of failures and thorns, sunshine and rain, thunder and lightning. And you might get burned. This is true for everybody. Nobody can avoid pain in this life. But as a leader, it's important to be willing to push through the pain for the sake of progress. It's only when the pain of staying the same is much greater than the pain of change that movement happens. Leadership is understanding that movement will happen because personally, you've agitated and orchestrated for that change to happen. It's not about leaving it to anybody else. Leadership is lonely." Prof, first I wish to applaud your extraordinary character. For your constant pursuit of excellence in every role that you've assumed is commendable. For championing, for personal development, for being a voice of inclusion and diversity in the positions of power and influence. Your past and present actions have been exemplary. Thank you so much. You have gone on to speak extensively on leadership. You've opined on what needs to happen to create employment, grow our economy, and bridge the inequality gap. You've even gone as far as researching the history of the United States of America to explore opportunities and challenges for improvement. What do you consider to be the makings of a good leader?
So for me, the essence of doing the things that we do is the simple fact that if wealth was the inevitable outcome of both hard work and enterprise, then every woman in Africa would be a millionaire. Therefore, our job is to interrogate and question as to why is it not, and put systems and processes in place to make sure that it happens, because we are at our best when we serve others. You spoke about pain. You see, if there was no such thing as sorrow, how then could we have a full appreciation of what happiness is? Members Chair.
The challenges ahead aren't linear. They're complex and extremely difficult. I don't wish to overly simplify them, but what attributes does one need to develop to survive the as-is?
So this thing called leadership is about ensuring that because of your presence, you improve the quality of life of others. That people feel better precisely because of your presence. And ensuring that this impact lasts in your absence. There are two important things. First is what happens when you are there. Secondly is what happens when you are not there. Because management is what happens when you are there. People see you, they are afraid, they run around, and they pretend like they're working. But will they jump over the cliff for you because of who you are, what you stand for, your values, your North Star, your true north in your absence? That is the stuff of leadership. It's about some sort of a compelling vision. It's about courage of our convictions. But also it's about integrity. This is the one that is less sexy. Oh yes, it's also about ensuring that you start first with the who and then the what. Finding it easy to palette, highlight, and celebrate others. But leadership is about ensuring that you are genuinely obsessed with the development of others. It is not self, but the other-centered. As I end, because those that are helping others are fulfilling God's work. Namaste.
I concur. It is in my opinion that leadership is discovery. To collect data, perhaps even explore one's thoughts and attitude when new facts are presented. How long does it take for you to decide?
Sure. This is the conundrum. So first, we have to accept that leadership presupposes followership. People follow you not because of your title or the corner office. They follow you because they want to follow you. But no, that's not the job of leaders. Because there's an African adage that says, the product of the marula tree is not the marula fruit. It's another amarula tree. Therefore, the job of leaders is not in creating followers. It's in creating other leaders. Because you see, when a candle burns another candle, it loses nothing. It gains more light. Can we envision a world where we give of ourselves freely? Because in our mind, we hold this notion of abundance rather than scarcity. To say, I'll share with you the little that I have, because I'm absolutely sure that tomorrow I'll have more. You'll be a prisoner when you think that you don't have enough. And this thing called giving is the greatest gift, because I've never met a poor philanthropist. Is it possible that in the process of giving, we can bring about this notion of transformational philanthropy, where we transform not only the recipient, but also the philanthropist? That's what leadership is about. It's about constantly seeking and be curious and saying, how do I get better today compared to yesterday? Namaste.
I suspect competence is also a prerequisite to execution. What skills are currently in demand within your area of expertise?
I think the people skills will always be absolutely critical, because this thing called business, at the heart of it, it's people. You see, because a company that is inappropriately located can always move its headquarters. A company that is poor on cash can leverage its position, go to the bank and borrow money. But a company that is poor on people is a dead company. Therefore, when we say people are our most greatest asset, it means we must tell them regularly and reaffirm that, so that people feel needed and wanted, feel free to speak their mind. Because we hire people not for their hands, but for the ability to think. And when we succeed in doing that, we have both an outsized and oversized impact. We underestimate the fact that the effect a leader has on any institution, any organization, could be up to 40% of that company's results. Therefore, when countries have good leaders, they become prosperous. Similarly, when countries have poor leadership, they become failed states. Namaste.
Accountability is another topic you inspect, but always with humility and respect. How do we hold those that lead us to their own pronounced commitments?
Especially in the political sphere, what we want from leadership is this notion of ethical leadership, which by definition is tautologous, because leadership can be anything else but ethical. Number two, it's this notion of holding people finally accountable. Lastly, we need leadership that is courageous, because it's not a popularity contest. It's about ensuring that you take the difficult decisions. It doesn't matter who else it pisses off, but it's the how. Because you see, in communication, there are two things: is the timing and the tone. If we pay attention to those, especially in a relationship, we'll find that we are constantly growing. Because when two people connect, they water each other. I water you, you water me. We don't drain each other. We just grow because you bring out the best in me. That is the stuff of leadership.
In what circumstances would you be prepared to alienate a team that you're leading?
When you know that I'm no longer growing. Because if you're not growing, you are dying. And you know, I teach. I'm a university professor at the Johannesburg Business School in the Faculty of Business and Economics at Gibbs with Professor Nick Binadel. We teach on strategy and ethics. It's the most amazing thing I've learned is that with every class, especially the first class, you as the professor always write more copious notes than the students think that they are learning from you. So I look forward to every first year class, although these are global MBA students, because I know that I come with a clean pad to make my notes. The day I feel that I'm no longer growing, that's the time for me to move away. Lastly, I think on a much more higher level, when you don't share the same values, the same vision, when you no longer want the same things, just like in a relationship, maybe, just maybe, it's about saying, let's remind ourselves of why we are in this together. And if we don't agree how together we are going to move forward in space and in time, at that time, maybe the best thing is to move away. Most people stay in a relationship because of the children. Whereas people say, I can't leave this relationship because I've got the most beautiful, glorious house. A relationship is in your heart because we fall in love with our souls, not with our flesh.
Recently, in 2023, you have been listed as one of the most reputable people in Africa. Do you recall a moment in your career that most impacted you?
Yes, you know, when I had my first opportunity to be finally accountable for the total enterprise, 1996, 2 years into democracy, I became the managing director of the world's biggest and oldest elevator company, Otis, Hartford, Connecticut, but the South African operation was at 222 Marshall Street. At that moment, I said, imagine if I'm successful in leading very differently from the way I have been managed. Imagine if I'm both consultative and participative, even if it takes me 80% of the time, so that I don't have to spend any more time to try and get buy-in. Because I've succeeded in saying to every single solitary one of the 3,827 of our employees that we have co-crafted and co-created this strategy together. That as Africans, we have defined, described, and shaped this in our own image. You see, there are two critical things in leadership. One is to say, how can we ensure that it looks different in order to break the cycle? And you do that by retaining the core while stimulating growth. In Africa, these entities must look like us. They must think like us, because we are proud of who we are, because we don't wish to be anywhere else or anything else for that matter. There's a value, there's utility in just glorifying the fact that the good Lord has put us in the southernmost tip of the continent, of course, with some form of fortune.
Oh, I just want to take that point and just extend my gratitude to Ms. Susan Tsepiso and Maneo for sharing your dad with us. I'm sure you would concur that you wouldn't have achieved 80% of what you've done without family. How important is family to you?
The best decision I've ever made in my entire life was getting married to Ms. Susan at age 17. Had I not done that, I'm absolutely convinced I'll be in jail. And she bore us the most divine daughters, Nkgono Tsepiso and Nkgono Maneo. It's amazing that today I learn more from my two daughters than from anything else. They teach me about how to be a sensitive, wonderful, good quality Mosotho man. They've taught me this notion of intersectionality between race, class, and gender.
What are you reading?
At the moment, I am reading Ntate Mthethwa Nyati's book and Ntate Nyimpini's book, because they are telling their own stories. There's an African adage that says, until and unless lions have their own storytellers, stories about hunting will always glorify the hunter. We are temporary occupants of the corridors of power. Therefore, we are both implored and mandated to tell our own stories.
Ntate Mohale, when it's all said and done, how do you unwind?
I'm happiest when I'm with family. And when they don't want me anymore, they send me to the golf course to pretend like I'm enjoying golf. I play chess with my two daughters. They beat me now, which is a wonderful feeling. I also love my own space. So I'm a jogger. So I try and do about 15 Ks at a time every other day. That's my happy space. When I'm lost in my own thoughts, when I can smell the roses, look at beautiful houses and homes, and being chased by dogs.
And how would you like to be remembered?
That here lived an African who was absolutely obsessed with the development of others. Pan-African in his thought processes, absolutely pragmatic in his execution. Because of his presence, others felt needed and wanted, heard and important.
Needed and wanted. Oh, wow. Wow. Thank you, Prof, for your sincerity, for your time, and for your love for this beautiful continent. Truly, it is palpable. Wow. Since our inaugural session of these moments of impact, personally, I've grown in confidence. I've been affirmed. I've accepted my limitations. I'm constantly unlearning my ways to discover a new me. I'm brave, bold, but most importantly, I now have the audacity. It is my hope that you consider impact coaching, using your anxiety to propel your delivery, allowing your limitations to develop your curiosity and springboard you to your next, to heal old wounds and to be brave. Wow, these moments of impact have healed me. It is our prayer that we increase our reach. Please do share the good news. My name, Masachaba Balobi. I'm the CEO and founder of Indie Path Human Capital. We are your guide to building in sustaining a high performance culture. Thank you, sir.
Ke a itebohela hle kgaitsedi ya ka.